week's episode of Assassination Classroom, Professor Bitch's bloodlust has finally reawakened, and we're formally introduced to the god of death himself, the Reaper, the greatest assassin in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is what I believe to be the best episode from the second season of Assassination Classroom. The ante has officially been upped. This was a really tense episode right here, because we finally have another major villain from the series. The closest one I could come to from the first season was probably Shiro and Itona and Takaoka, with Takaoka really being the real big threat at the end of that season. Now we finally have the Reaper, the greatest assassin in the world, who totally lives up to his name. Getting to see his abilities in this episode are frankly quite disturbing, and he's just a normal looking guy. Just a real creepy, conveniently timed florist who just appears from out of nowhere. He's that good at his job. What I really like about this episode, though, is it didn't just focus on him, but we also got to focus a little bit on Professor Bitch, because she is still just head over heels in love with Karasuma, and Karasuma's just not having it. He even plays along with the students' plan to try and hook them both up with some flowers, which of course is all conveniently tied to the Reaper himself. I have a feeling this is all planned with him being involved with Professor Bitch as well. It's all ridiculous and convoluted, but the best part about this episode, without a doubt to me, and the part that actually kind of freaked me out because of just how strange it was when Koro-sensei decides to go away for a soccer match. That's when the Reaper walks into the classroom, and he does it oh so casually, without any introduction, and all the students just sort of accept it at first, and then there's this sudden silence when they're like, oh shit, when did that guy walk into here? That scene, honestly, to me, was pretty damn terrifying. The Reaper comes up with this crazy plan where he's kidnapped Professor Bitch, tied her up, and brought her to this undisclosed location, and he challenges all of the students to try and find her. Of course, this ends up just being a trap, and they all end up getting their asses handed to them and literally captured and handcuffed inside of this giant cage, with Koro-sensei and Karasuma having to save them. Now, this episode is really just a showcase for the abilities of the Reaper. The fact that he can just walk up to multiple targets oh so casually, and you don't even really see him. His form just sort of takes this like humanoid black shadow with a creepy smile, and he can actually stop you just by clapping right in your face, and that's because he sort of manipulates the brain waves in your head. It's really freaking ridiculous. That, and he kicks all sorts of ass, beating up most of the students and getting them all locked up. And Professor Bitch apparently is going along with his plan. However, I have a feeling she's actually going to try and stop him. And if anything, it was just funny to see Koro-sensei dressed up as a dog at the end of this episode with a collar and leash being walked by Karasuma as they're trying to find the students. A big yellow octopus in a giant furry dog suit. Japan is so freaking weird. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Assassination Classroom? We're finally introduced to another awesome villain from the series, probably the best one that we have seen thus far. I cannot wait to see more of this guy in action, who has such a presence about him, which is just so overly disturbing. The scene, like I said, when he walks into the classroom, he completely commands everything at that moment. You actually have the same reaction as the students when they realize, who let that guy in here? Why are we all of a sudden so buddy-buddy with this guy? It's frankly kind of disturbing. That and some of the imagery that they actually attach to the character, like where half of his face will transform into a skeleton, or this other half where it literally looks like it's covered with insects, snakes, and all types of nasty hoogity-boogity shit. This was a really creepy episode with this character, not to mention his whole underground lair and traps were really well thought out, and it was cool that the students were able to escape a little bit, but it just made things all the more terrifying when they were trying to fight him in the dark and his crazy clapping abilities. I can't wait to see what Koro-sensei is going to do when he confronts this guy, because this will really let us know how much of a threat this guy is going to be, and maybe it'll even start to shed some light on some more of Koro-sensei's weaknesses. We have to see more of those. I just can't wait to see him in action. All I can say is this is the most excited I've been in a long time for Assassination Classroom. The last couple of episodes have been funny and have had some nice lessons to them, but this is finally moving the story in another direction, especially because time is running out. Karasuma made that very clear in this episode. Less than half a year They have barely any time to get this stuff done, so this is probably when the fecal matter is going to hit the fan. What I will say is, on the technical side of things, this was a very nice looking episode. There were only a few action scenes, but they all looked really nice. The way they displayed the power of the Reaper was really awesome and very creepy at the same time. The confrontation he had with Nagisa was just so insane, because you almost expected that Nagisa, being like the main default character of the series, might actually be able to surprise him a little bit. Nah, he got completely destroyed by the Reaper, and that just reinforced how, like, powerful this guy actually is. He's living up to the title of greatest assassin in the world. So, fantastic episode of Assassination Classroom. It's a good time to be an Assassination Classroom fan. I don't read the manga version, but I did just hear that the chapters are coming to a close very soon. I think they said there's only like 5 left in the actual manga series. So let's try to keep those spoilers to a minimum as we get closer to the end of the series. I don't know if they're going to wrap it all up in the second season. I don't actually know if that's possible. Maybe they'll do some more seasons in the future, but things are really finally starting to get interesting in the series. So I can't wait to see where it's going to go from here. So check out this week's episode. I loved it a lot. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. Just had a lot of great moments. If you did watch this week's episode of Assassination Classroom, why don't you tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. Did you have a favorite scene from this episode? What did you think about the introduction of the Reaper? Did he really creep you out? Did you like his crazy fighting abilities? What do you want to see in his confrontation with Koro-sensei in the next episode? Make sure to tell me in the comments section below. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching this review, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow us on social media. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.